Bible study tip for you was to read one book of the Bible at a time instead of jumping around. And something that's really helpful when we're reading one book of the Bible at a time is to know the context of that book of the Bible. And so I want to share with you 5 questions to kind of ask yourself and think about before you start reading a book of the Bible, and continue to think about as you're reading that book of the Bible, because it's going to help you to understand the different verses and passages that you're reading in the appropriate context. Because a verse in the Bible can never mean something to us that it never meant to its original hearers. And so there are lots of different applications that we can take from one particular verse. We can get different applications, but we can't interpret the passage or Bible verse differently. It always meant what it originally meant, what God originally meant for it to say. So here's some 5 questions for you to think about that'll help you to the first 3 questions out of the 5 that I think is important for you to ask yourself and to find the answers to when you're diving into a book of the Bible is, number 1, who wrote the book? Number 2, whom did they write it to? And number 3, when was it written? So I'm going to take 1 Corinthians as an example because this is a book that I just got finished studying at our women's Bible study at church. But in 1 Corinthians, it is a letter written by Paul to the church in Corinth. And so that's important to know because then you can start to think about when was it written? What was going on during that time in Corinth? What was the church in Corinth facing and dealing with? It's also important when you think about when was it written? Was it written before Christ or after Christ? So this is really going to help us to understand the books of the Bible that we're studying a little bit better when we know who wrote it. So, number 1, who wrote it? Whom did they write it to? And when was it written? Now we're going to move on to number 4, and that is to understand and know what genre of literature that book of the Bible is. I know that sounds a little too academic for us, right? But another reason why you can tell your kids it's important to learn literature so that we can understand the Bible better. So the Bible has some different genres. Some of the books are historical. Some of the books are prophecy. Some of the books are poetry, and some are letters. So the reason knowing the genre is really important is if you are really struggling with a verse and wondering what it means, it really helps to know, is this verse part of prophecy? Is it part of just a historical narrative? Is it poetry? Is it a letter that somebody's written? That's really going to help us to understand the verse better and make more sense of it. Question number 5 is, what are the major themes in this book of the Bible? And so as you're reading through the book of the Bible, start looking for major themes that you see being run through the entire book. And this is going to be helpful. Let me tell you why. I'm going to use 1 Corinthians as an example again. If you read through 1 Corinthians, 2 of the major themes in that book is love for our brothers and sisters in Christ and unity among the body of believers. And so when you get to some difficult passages in the book of 1 Corinthians and you think, why is Paul asking us to do that? What is he talking about? When we think of that command or what he's asking us to do, in light of the fact that he wants us to show love to others and to build unity, then those difficult passages start to make more sense to us. One of the questions that I know that I'm probably going to get is, how do I even figure out who wrote it and whom did they write it to and when was it written and what genre is it in and what are the major themes? And one really great resource is to have a study Bible, because those notes and that information will be before each book of the Bible that you read. You can also read for yourself the Bible, and you will learn and start to understand who wrote it and whom it was written to. You can definitely do research on the internet, but a great thing is just to have a study Bible.